because I'm going to talk tonight about going up the mountain. It's a brand new message. I've never preached this. This is the first time preaching this message, so you are the guinea pigs in a sense, and I hope it goes well. If you hear me preach it again, because this is what I do for my job, I travel and preach, well then you know at least I thought that it went well. If you never hear it again, then, well, it didn't go that well. But talking about going up the mountain of God represents encounter in the Bible. And I've shared this before, but it was, me being 2 weeks saved as a drug addict, if you've never heard my story, messed up, fully on drugs. And I went up the mountain, a literal mountain, Mount Tambourine, where I was 2 weeks Christian, and they taught me that I could encounter God. And it was out of that moment, that experience, that I went back home and I had a genuine, bona fide encounter with the living God, who in that moment completely set me free of every addiction, spoke to me about my future, told me who I was going to marry. And 25 years later, here I am, married to that girl, 2 amazing boys, all came out of an encounter with God. And so I want to talk about going up the mountain. I want to read a big kind of chunk of scripture. I'm not going to read a lot of scripture tonight, but this first part is 14 verses, so just stay with me. Genesis chapter 22, verse 1 to 14. The guys have got that on the screen. It says here, sometime later, sorry for my back to you. Sometime later, God tested Abraham. He said to Abraham, "Here I am," he replied. Then God said, "Take your son, your only son whom you love, Isaac, and go to the region of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on the mountain that I will show you." Early the next morning, Abraham got up, he loaded his donkey, he took with him 2 servants and his son Isaac. When he had cut enough wood for the burnt offering, he set out for the place God had told him about. On the 3rd day, remember that, the 3rd day, Abraham looked up and he saw the place in the distance, and he said to his servant, "Stay here with the donkey while I and the boy go over there. We will worship, then we will come back to you." Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and he placed it on his son Isaac, and he himself carried the fire and the knife, and the 2 of them went on together. Isaac spoke up and he said to his father Abraham, "Father." "Yes, my son," Abraham replied. "The fire and wood are here," Isaac said, "but where is the lamb for the burnt offering?" Abraham answered, "God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my son." And the 2 of them went on together. When they reached the place God had told him about, Abraham built an altar there and he arranged the wood on it. He bound his son Isaac, he laid him on the altar on the top of the wood. Then he reached out his hand and took his knife to slay his son. But the angel of the Lord called out to him from heaven, "Abraham, Abraham." "Here I am," he replied. "Do not lay a hand on the boy," he said. "Do not do anything to him. Now I know that you fear God, because you have not withheld from me your son, your only son." And then this is that's kind of just laying the foundation of what's happened. These next 2 verses is really what I'm going to preach about tonight. It says, Abraham, and maybe if these next 2 verses, we could just leave them up for a little bit. It says, Abraham looked up there in the thicket. He saw a ram caught by its horns. He went over and took the ram and sacrificed it as a burnt offering instead of his son. So Abraham called that place. The Lord will provide. That if you've ever heard the term Jehovah Jireh, we sing songs, Jireh, it's a great song about the Lord provides. Jehovah Jireh means it's a name of God, the Lord who provides. And so he called that place, the Lord will provide. And to this day it is said, on the mountain of the Lord it will be provided. Just leave that text up right there, that'll be perfect, just for a little bit. And so whenever the Bible talks about going up the mountain in the Old Testament, it always spoke of encounter. See, Abraham knew that he was being invited not to just climb a mountain, he was being invited to encounter God. In the Old Testament, mountain always represents encountering God. And many times, Moses and many other biblical characters, they went up the mountain and they had an encounter with the living God. They heard God speak to them. The mountain in the Old Testament is always a metaphor for seeking God and encountering God's presence. And it's on the mountain that he has this moment where he says, Jehovah Jireh, which means the Lord who provides. It's one of the names of God. This is the only time the Hebrew word for Jehovah Jireh is ever used in the Old Testament. It's never spoken again. It's one of the names of God. It's spoken just in this text here. It's never mentioned again. Jehovah Jireh. There's a whole list of similar names that we call God that are in other parts of the Bible. Jehovah Rapha, which means the Lord who heals you. Jehovah Nissi, which means the Lord is my banner. Jehovah Shalom, the Lord is my peace. Jehovah Ra, the Lord is my shepherd. And many more that reveal different aspects of God's character. But the only time, with that scripture up there, here's the thing that kind of got me with this particular text. This is the only time that Abraham has the revelation, Jehovah Jireh. He said, you're the Lord who provides. And we always think about it as it's one of the names of God. And it's true, okay? Theologically, we talk about that. It's one of the names of God, Jehovah Jireh, the Lord will provide. But actually, if you look at the text, it doesn't say it's the name of God. It says he called that place Jehovah Jireh. That place, the mountain, which represents encounter. He said, no, the place is called Jehovah Jireh. See, and that's kind of better in a sense, because when you're just looking for a name, it's a bit ambiguous. Well, I don't know where John is. I don't know where so-and-so is. But if you tell me a place, well, I could go to the place. And rather than just seeing it as a name, Jehovah Jireh, I'm here to tell you that Jehovah Jireh, the Lord who provides, you'll find him at a place. And that place is when you set off for encounter with God. When you make a decision, just like it says, he will provide on the mountain. When you search in your heart to say, I'm going to seek the Lord. I'm going to go up the mountain. I've got intent to find God. When you get to that place, you will see the Lord who provides. It will be provided for you on the mountain. See, just 4 really quick things, and then I've got 3 keys about the Lord who provides. But just really quickly, why is the mountain a metaphor for encountering God? Well, just like climbing a mountain, nobody ever accidentally climbs a mountain. Do you know what I mean? You didn't wake up one Saturday and, whoa, I tripped and I can't believe we went all the way up that mountain and we ended up at the top. No one accidentally climbs a mountain. No one accidentally encounters God. Most times, more often than not, just like setting out, if I'm going to climb a mountain, I plan it, I set on it, I have a goal, I have a plan. Just like encountering God, you encounter God when you set out to encounter God. It's a good metaphor, the climbing the mountain for encounter with God, because just like climbing a mountain, it takes effort. Now, again, we heard Pastor Josh speak so beautifully and truthfully about the grace of God and how there's nothing I have to do to earn God's love and his goodness and his kindness, and that's 100% true. But if you want to fully encounter him, if you want to meet with the King, if you want to see some stuff shift, if you want to hear his voice, that takes a little bit of effort. That takes a little bit of, a little bit of sweat. And I'm going to go up the mountain and I'm going to find him and I'm going to keep walking until I encounter his presence. Because when you get to that place, you'll see the Lord who provides. Just like climbing a mountain, when I climb a mountain, gravity is against me because I'm going up. We have a sinful nature, a flesh that we all have to contend with, and a spirit. And my flesh never wants to put in effort to go and seek after the Lord. Gravity is pushing against, but I have to defy gravity and say, even though my flesh doesn't want to do it, I'm going to make my flesh submit, and I'm going up the mountain. I'm going to meet with the King. I'm going to encounter God's presence. It's also a great metaphor because just like climbing a mountain, when you put in the effort, when you pay the price, when you defy gravity, eventually you get to the top and there's an incredible reward. You can see things that you could never have seen down the bottom when you get to the top, there is a view that can only be seen from the top. Same thing when you push through and encounter the creator of the universe, you can see stuff that nobody else can see. It's the mountain is the place. He didn't say the name of God is Jehovah Jireh. He said this place, the mountain, encounter. That's Jehovah Jireh. That's the Lord who provides. On the mountain, they said, on the mountain of the Lord, that's where it will be provided. If you're looking for provision, it's found on the mountain when you go after God. Let me just give you 3 quick things and then we're going to pray. 3 things that are provided on the mountain. The first one is this. It's your needs that are out of reach. In other words, you can't get them for yourself. See, Abraham had a need. He didn't want to sacrifice his son, but there was no ram, there was no lamb to be sacrificed on the altar. And so God, he would have had one back at home, but where he was on the mountain, there was no way, it was out of reach. He couldn't get a lamb. And God provided the need that was out of Abraham's reach. See, I'm not just talking about the needs that you can go out and get yourself, that you can work for, that you can strategize, that you can plan. But sometimes we're faced with needs in life that it's just out of my reach. I don't know how I can get it. I can't find the answer. Well, let me tell you, that need is found on the mountain of the Lord. If you would just stop complaining and stop going to this person and that person, but you just say, you know what? I know the place where the need will be found. It's found on the mountain. So rather than complaining, I'm going to put in some effort and I'm going to get up the mountain. And when I get up the mountain, I'll find the need that is out of reach. I remember when we first moved to Townsville to be part of Calvary. We were youth pastors and there was no job offered to us. We just felt to go. We left a ministry position and we just felt to go. And eventually we got to run Red Frogs and launch all of that kind of stuff. But because we weren't coming to be on staff, we paid our own way to move cities. We were broke youth pastors at the time, young with 1 and 2 year old kids. But you know what? We knew God was calling us, so we just kept going up the mountain. And it was amazing because we were given somewhere between $7,000 and $10,000 about 15 years ago, which was more than enough to get our rental and move all of our stuff. So in other words, we found the Jehovah Jireh and he was on the mountain. So see, I don't know what it is for you. Maybe it's as simple as you're about to go to university and you don't know if you should do this degree or this one. And as much as you're trying to work it out, it feels like that need is out of your reach. Let me tell you, you'll find the answer to that need on the mountain. The one that knows what you were born to do, the one that knows what you were called to do, you'll get on the mountain and he'll speak and you'll come back off the mountain saying, it was out of my reach, but I found the need. Maybe for you, it's a sickness that you can't get rid of. You've tried to do the right things. You've changed diet. You've changed things in your life, but it's just out of your reach. I'm telling you that healing is found on the mountain. If you'll pursue and go after the mountain, you'll find Jehovah Jireh. Maybe it's a personal breakthrough. Maybe it's a sin that you're ashamed of and embarrassed about. And you have tried every avenue to break this thing in your life. You've done this and done that and tried this. Can I tell you, maybe the answer is found upon the mountain. Maybe setting out and whatever that looks like for you, whether it's just seeking God, fasting, whatever it looks like, but setting your effort and your face to say, I'm going up the mountain and I'm going to find Jehovah Jireh. And he's the Lord who provides, and I need him to provide breakthrough, deliverance, healing. You'll find the needs that are out of your reach. And I love this one. Not only will you find the needs that are out of your reach, you'll find the provision that looks like the desires of your heart. You know, the Bible says that we who are sinful as fathers give good gifts to our children even though we're sinful. And then it says, how much more does our Father in heaven give good gifts to his children? He'll give you the desires of your heart. When you go up the mountain, you'll see the Lord who provides. And one of the things he'll provide is the desires of your heart. I shared this story this morning. But one of the biggest disappointments that I've had to walk through in life, and for some it might not seem big, but for me it rocked me for a couple years. We bought our first house when we were youth pastors. It was a miracle, and we always had a house. And then we went to America, and we actually had a house here in Sippy Downs. We kept that while we were in America. We came back. We thought we were going back to America, so we sold our house because we thought we were going back and would try and buy in America. That all kind of fell on its head, and we never went back. But we sold our house here in Sippy Downs at exactly the wrong time, to the day. Like you couldn't have picked a worse time to sell your house. It was literally about 2 weeks before everything started booming. And because we had come back from another country, we weren't in a position to, even though we had the deposit, to get a loan, and we had to wait, and things just kept going up and going up. And 4 years later, the only time pretty much we never had a house was in the biggest boom of my whole lifetime. Practically, it probably cost us $500,000 in equity. And that rocked me, the disappointment in my heart. Because it's just like, I couldn't work it out. It's like, God, we thought we were going to America, and we didn't even need to sell the house, and there's just no reason for it, and just disappointment got so in my spirit. And in that one area, I started to become so negative. Well, we're never going to do it. We're not going to be able to retire, all this kind of stuff. But then after, and it took a lot longer than I wished to admit. But eventually, I started climbing back up the mountain. Eventually, I started bringing my disappointment to my Father. I started coming up the mountain and trying to get in His presence. And bit by bit, He started to heal my heart, started to put faith in it again. And then it was kind of last year, I think I can't remember, about May or something. And I can't explain it. But as I went up the mountain into His presence, it was like it was done. And I just knew we were about to buy a house. We had tried so many times. Like, we got sick of the point. We'd have seasons where we're trying and trying and trying, and it just wouldn't work, and we couldn't get the finance. But I had this moment in His presence where I just knew He's about to give us, it's been 5 years, but He's about to give us the desire of our heart. My lease was, where we were living was this is last year, we had to tell them whether we would continue on in about 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And then either move out within about 30 days after that. And because I'd been up the mountain, I saw Jehovah Jireh. And I just knew that He was about to give us the desire of our heart. And I just knew that it was going to be quick. And that time, we'd looked so many times over 4 years. Within 2 weeks, I walked into a house. And as soon as I walked in, I'm like, this is our house. And eventually, within 4 weeks or whatever, we got that house. We moved in the same week that our lease was meant to be continued. You know what? Today, it's a house in Highland Park, and a little place of heaven for me is we have this balcony, and I sit down and I see our pool, and there's like a pool deck area, and there's trees everywhere, a massive mango tree. Jackie absolutely loves trees. And see, it's just the desire of our heart. God doesn't just give you the needs that are out of your reach. He also gives you the desire of your heart. But you know, this whole picture of getting the desire of your heart on the mountain, there's another scripture that talks about this, because it says this, and this is where people get it wrong. It says, delight yourself in the Lord, and He'll give you the desires of your heart. And some people take that wrong. They go, well, I love the Lord, so I can just believe and have whatever I want. But it's not like that. See, what happens is, to delight yourself in the Lord is to go up the mountain. It's to get your heart next to His. Because what happens when you go up the mountain with desires of your heart, some desires you get next to His heart, and you start to be revealed that these desires that I've got, they're not the ones that the Lord wants for me. And because you've been up the mountain, those ones will fade away and disappear. But then there are other desires of your heart. They're just desires. You want this thing or that thing, and they might not be spiritual, but you go up the mountain and you get next to His heart, and He starts to breathe and say, I'm going to give you the desire that you want. You'll find the desire of your heart on top of the mountain. And then the last one is this, and this is my favorite one. That's what we want to pray into. See, the whole thing, this whole story of Abraham sacrificing his son, or about to, and God says, stop. Remember, the journey up the mountain was 3 days. 3 days. A father that had an only son who was about to be sacrificed, but then a lamb was provided for the sacrifice. And so this whole thing is a prophetic picture of the future. This whole thing was a prophetic picture of Christ that would come 2,000 years to pay the price. Our Father in heaven, it was showing us a prophetic glimpse that one day our Father in heaven will go through with allowing his only son to be killed and sacrificed on a cross for the good of you and I. And so when you go up the mountain, it's on the mountain, it's in that place that you'll find the Lord who provides. And when you encounter Jehovah Jireh, what will happen is you'll see your needs that are out of reach, they'll be met. You'll see the desires of your heart because he's the Lord who provides. But the other thing that will be provided on the mountain is you will see the glimpse of your prophetic future. Rather than just going through the motions of what's this year going to look like, people that go up on the mountain will start to get a glimpse of not just what your goals are, but the God goals, the God vision that he has for your life, for your business, for your marriage, for your children, for whatever you're going to do. I've seen this so many times. A moment we're up the mountains, I was 37 years old, and God so clearly said, at the age of 40, you'll be living in America. 3 years later, here I am, I'm living in America at a football game on my 40th birthday. What was that? I just got up the mountain and I saw a prophetic picture of what my future looks like. Probably one of the greatest rewards, and I'll finish with this and then we'll pray. It is our two boys at the moment are in such a great season, 19 and 20-year-old boys, both seeking God for themselves, watching them flourish, fasting, praying, reading the Bible, seeking God. But you know what? I remember there was a time, and I think I was living here on the Sunshine Coast, where I just went through a season because my whole generation is full of drugs and addiction and just messed up. And I went through this season when they were just little boys. And fear started to attack my heart. What if they end up like all of the ones before us? Like how I grew up. How could I handle my boys on drugs and all? And it became a thing in my heart for a little season of fear. But eventually, I made a decision. I've got to go up the mountain. I've got to find Jehovah Jireh. Not for me, but for these two boys. And I just remember over a period of probably 6 months to 12 months, I prayed so much about my two boys when they were just little boys. And so clearly, I can't even remember a moment of what God said, but out of it, I just had this incredible sense, this incredible knowing that I knew one was called to ministry, traditional full-time ministry, and one was called to dominate in the business world. And I've never pushed them into it. I've spoken out at times and told them this is what I believe, but never ever put pressure. And today I'm watching one, the oldest, who is so passionate for Jesus, who is fasting, who's praying, who preached at 20 years old about maybe 2 months ago, who has such a see, I didn't know this when I was seeing this for him, but he has such a beautiful heart for people. He's so considerate, he's so caring, he's so loving. He's the one that will walk in the room and he'll sense this person's a bit down, I need to go and help them. He's passionate, so people want to follow him. And now I'm watching him, even though he's had a testimony. And there was a season where he wasn't doing well. And now I'm watching him step into that call of God. And then the other one, who is 19 years old, quit his job 6 months ago in sales to start his own business. He's 19 years old. I hear him in his bedroom and he's cold calling people. He is one of the best salespeople you're ever going to hear. He is so fixated on goals, and I've just got to achieve this thing and get out of my way. And he's not great with people because he'll probably offend you and annoy you. But he's got the temperament to just be someone that I'm on the planet. I still love God. I'm not a great people person, but I'm here to dominate business. And I'm watching both of them step in to what God has called them to do. But do you know where that was provided? It was at a place. See, provision has an address. It's on the mountain. Not many people want to climb the mountain to find the provision. I'm telling you, God has a prophetic future for every person in this room, and it's not just what you think it is. God always calls you to more than you really are. When you get on the mountain, you'll see things and go, how in the world am I going to achieve that? Well, that's okay. You don't have to worry about that. You've just got to get the mountain and you've just got to see it, and God will take you on the journey. He'll stretch you, He'll grow you, and He'll take you to the thing that you saw on the mountain.